The retirement home's dark secret. Eleanor Martinez played violin at Sunset Gardens Retirement Home every Tuesday. The dementia patients loved her music, especially Harold, who always mumbled the same numbers, 1735942. Eleanor thought it was random until she saw the newspaper headline, Riverside Bank robbery. 30 years later, $5 million still missing. Those were the exact numbers Harold repeated. And Harold, he used to be the bank manager. The newspaper lay spread across Eleanor's kitchen table, the morning coffee growing cold as she read. The article was part of a series on unsolved crimes, and the Riverside Bank case had always fascinated local historians. 3 masked men, $5 million, one dead teller named Jennifer Chen, and a traumatized bank manager who claimed he was forced to open the vault at gunpoint. That manager was Harold Fitzgerald. Eleanor's hands trembled as she looked at the young man in the newspaper photo from 1994. Even 30 years and dementia couldn't completely erase those distinctive green eyes, that slight scar above the left eyebrow. The same Harold who sat in the corner of the recreation room every Tuesday, tapping his fingers to her violin, whispering those numbers like a prayer. 1735942. She'd been volunteering at Sunset Gardens for 3 years. Since her retirement from teaching music at the local high school, the dementia ward had become her second home. These forgotten souls, her extended family. Harold was one of her favorites, quiet, gentle, always trying to hum along even when the words escaped him. But those numbers never escaped him. Clear as day, every single time, Eleanor folded the newspaper and made a decision that would unravel 3 decades of lies. She would start listening more carefully to Harold Fitzgerald. The next Tuesday arrived, grey and drizzling, matching Eleanor's anxious mood. She entered Sunset Gardens with her violin case in one hand and a small recording device in her pocket. If Harold was confessing to something through his dementia fog, she needed proof. "Good morning, Eleanor." Nurse Patricia greeted her warmly. "They've been asking for you all morning. Mr. Harold especially. He's been more agitated than usual." Eleanor found Harold in his usual spot, but Patricia was right. His fingers drummed against his wheelchair armrest, his eyes darting around the room like a trapped animal. "Hello, Harold," Eleanor said gently, pulling up a chair beside him. "Would you like to hear some music?" Harold's eyes focused on her for a moment, clearer than usual. "The music lady," he whispered. "You always come, just like Jenny came, every morning with her smile." Eleanor's pulse quickened. Jenny Chen, pretty girl, too pretty to die. His fingers resumed their drumming. 1735942. That's all they wanted, just numbers. But Jenny saw ... What did Jenny see, Harold? But the moment of clarity passed. Harold's eyes clouded again, and he began humming too. Eleanor raised her violin and began to play, a soft, melancholic piece that seemed to calm the entire room. As she played, she watched Harold carefully. His lips moved constantly, and between songs, she leaned close enough to hear. "They said, no witnesses, but I knew them. Coach Richardson from the Lions, Mike from the hardware store, Tommy the cop. They didn't wear masks for me, only for the cameras. Jenny came early that day. Wasn't supposed to be there." Eleanor's bow nearly slipped from her fingers. 3 names, 3 men who could be the bank robbers. She forced herself to continue playing, her mind racing. "Before we continue this shocking revelation, where are you watching from today? Drop your city in the comments below. And if you believe that sometimes the truth hides in the most unexpected places, hit that subscribe button. Justice System USA brings you stories that prove justice has no expiration date. Over the following weeks, Eleanor became Harold's shadow. She arrived early, stayed late, and documented everything. The nurses thought she was simply dedicated. Harold's daughter, who visited monthly from Seattle, was grateful someone cared so much about her father. But Eleanor was building a case. Harold's confessions came in fragments, like pieces of a scattered puzzle. During moments of lucidity, triggered often by Eleanor's music, he would reveal more. Coach said it would be easy. He knew about the maintenance tunnel from when he worked construction. Mike could disable the alarms, fixed them enough times to know how. Tommy would make sure patrol cars were elsewhere. I fought them at first, told them no. But Coach, he knew about my debts, the gambling, said they'd tell everyone, ruin me. Better to be a victim than a criminal, he said. The safe was old, Swiss model, 1735942. My daughter's birthday backwards. They made me practice for weeks. Jenny wasn't supposed to be there. She came in early to decorate for my birthday. My birthday, she saw Coach without his mask. Saw them all. Coach panicked. The gun just went off, he said. But I saw his eyes. He meant to do it. Each revelation was worse than the last. Harold hadn't been a victim. He'd been an accomplice. The gambling debts, the inside knowledge, the convenient trauma that kept him from giving good descriptions to police. It all made horrible sense. Eleanor researched the names Harold mentioned. Coach Richardson had left town shortly after the robbery, supposedly for a better job in Florida. He'd died in a boating accident 5 years later. Mike Kowalski, the hardware store owner, had sold his business within a year and moved to Mexico. He'd never been seen again. Tommy Garrett, the cop, had retired early with a full pension and lived quietly on the outskirts of town. Only Tommy was still alive, and according to Harold's fractured memories, Tommy had hidden the money. Tommy took it all. Harold had whispered one afternoon, said it was too hot to split right away. Wait 5 years, he said, then 10. Then Coach died and Mike ran. Tommy kept it all, buried at the old Mitchell farm. Under the Scarecrow, the Mitchell farm had been abandoned for 20 years, bought by the city for future development that never came. Eleanor drove past it one evening, seeing the dilapidated Scarecrow still standing in the overgrown field. Could $5 million really be buried there for 3 decades? She faced an ethical dilemma. Harold's confessions were those of a man with dementia. Would they hold up legally? Should she go to the police with the ravings of an elderly man who might not even remember his own name tomorrow? And what about Harold himself? He was 85, in poor health, clearly suffering. What good would justice do now? But then Eleanor thought about Jenny Chen, 23 years old, working extra hours to pay for night school, coming in early to decorate for the birthday of a man who'd betrayed her. Shot dead for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Jenny deserved justice, even 30 years late. Eleanor made her decision. She compiled her recordings and notes, creating a detailed timeline of Harold's confessions. Then she reached out to the one person she thought might listen, Detective Maria Santos, who'd written the newspaper article about cold cases. Their meeting was at a small cafe downtown. Detective Santos, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and graying temples, listened to Eleanor's story with growing amazement. You're telling me Harold Fitzgerald, the victim bank manager, was actually in on it? Eleanor played some of her recordings. Harold's voice, weak but clear, detailing the plan, naming names, confessing to his part in Jenny Chen's death. This is ... double quotes. Santos paused, struggling for words. This is incredible. But you understand, a dementia patient's words might not be enough for a conviction. What about the money? Eleanor asked. If it's where Harold says it is. Santos leaned forward. That would change everything. The excavation at the Mitchell farm happened on a cold October morning. Eleanor stood with Detective Santos as the police team carefully dug around the old Scarecrow. Harold was in the hospital now, his health declining rapidly. Unaware of the storm his confessions had created. 4 feet down, they hit metal. A series of industrial drums, sealed with tar, preserved in the clay soil. Inside, wrapped in plastic and surprisingly intact, was $4 million in cash. The serial numbers matched those from the Riverside Bank robbery. The discovery made national news. Dementia patient's confessions solve 30-year-old bank heist. Volunteer violinist uncovers $1 million secret. Justice for Jenny Chen. Bank robbery mystery finally solved. But there was still the matter of Tommy Garrett. Where are you watching from today? This story is far from over. Share this video with someone who needs to know that justice can come from the most unexpected places. And don't forget to subscribe to Justice System USA. For the shocking conclusion, the arrest of 73-year-old retired police officer Thomas Garrett sent shockwaves through Riverside. He'd been a respected member of the community, coaching Little League, serving on the church board, living quietly on his pension. No one suspected he was sitting on $4 million in blood money. At first, Garrett denied everything. The ravings of a senile old man, his lawyer proclaimed. But the money told a different story. And when faced with the evidence, Garrett Facade cracked. In exchange for a plea deal, he told the whole truth. The robbery had been planned for over a year. Coach Richardson, drowning in gambling debts to dangerous people, had recruited the others. Mike Kowalski needed money to save his failing business. Tommy Garrett was tired of being an underpaid cop, watching criminals live better than he did. And Harold Fitzgerald, addicted to gambling and desperate to hide it from his family, was their inside man. It was supposed to be clean, Garrett told investigators. Harold would open the safe. We'd take the money. Harold would be tied up, play the victim. No one was supposed to get hurt. But Jenny Chen's early arrival changed everything. She'd walked in on them before they could put on their masks, seen all their faces clearly. Coach Richardson had panicked. Harold tried to stop him, Garrett admitted, but Coach shot her anyway. Said we couldn't leave witnesses. Harold never got over it. The guilt ate him alive. The plan had fallen apart after that. Coach Richardson fled to Florida, paranoid and drinking heavily until his accident. Mike Kowalski ran to Mexico with his share. Garrett had convinced them to let him hide the bulk of the money until heat died down. But years passed and he kept it all, watching his accomplices disappear one by one. I told myself I was keeping it safe, Garrett said. But truth is, I got greedy and scared. The more time passed, the harder it became to touch it. Harold Fitzgerald never lived to see justice served. He passed away quietly in his sleep 2 days before Garrett's arrest, taking his guilt to the grave. His daughter, devastated by the revelations, donated his entire estate to a scholarship fund in Jenny Chen's name. Eleanor Martinez found herself at the center of a media storm she'd never wanted. Reporters called her a hero, but she felt like anything but. She'd grown fond of Harold over their years together, and reconciling the gentle, confused old man with the accomplice to murder was heartbreaking. At Garrett's trial, Eleanor testified about Harold's confessions. She played her recordings, the courtroom silent, as Harold's voice filled the space. Jenny died because of me. 1-735-942. Such simple numbers. A life for numbers. I see her every night. Young forever while I got old. She decorates my dreams with birthday streamers and blood. The jury took only 3 hours to convict Thomas Garrett of murder, robbery, and conspiracy. At 73, his life sentence meant he would die in prison. The judge ordered the recovered money to be distributed among the bank's insurance company and Jenny Chen's family. Jenny's younger sister, now in her 50s, approached Eleanor after the trial. "Thank you," she said through tears. "We always knew there was more to the story. The police said Jenny was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, but we knew she was targeted. Thank you for listening when no one else would." Eleanor returned to Sunset Gardens, but it wasn't the same. Harold's corner sat empty, his whispered numbers finally silent. She played for the other residents, but her heart wasn't in it. How many other secrets were locked in these failing minds? How many other confessions disguised as rambling? One day, Nurse Patricia found Eleanor packing up her violin. "You're not coming back, are you?" Patricia asked gently. "I don't know," Eleanor admitted. "I came here to bring joy through music, not to uncover decades-old murders." "You brought justice," Patricia said. "That's its own kind of music." Eleanor considered this. Harold suffered for 30 years with that guilt. In the end, his broken mind finally told the truth. He couldn't speak when he was whole. Maybe that's what I was really here for, to listen when he was finally ready to confess. She did return, eventually. Every Tuesday, Eleanor Martinez brought her violin to Sunset Gardens. She played for the residents, bringing moments of clarity and joy to clouded minds. But now she listened differently, alert to the stories hidden in the rambling, the confessions wrapped in confusion, because Eleanor had learned that sometimes the truth waits decades to emerge, hidden in the most unexpected places: a retirement home, a demented mind, a volunteer's patient ear, and $4 million buried under a scarecrow, waiting for someone to finally connect the dots. The Riverside Bank case was closed after 30 years, but its resolution raised questions that haunted the justice system. How many other Harold Fitzgeralds were out there, carrying terrible secrets into their twilight years? How many Jenny Chens never got justice because no one listened to the meaningless words of the elderly? Eleanor established the Listen Project, training volunteers to document the words of dementia patients, creating a database that could be cross-referenced with cold cases. In its first year, 3 other murders were solved through patient confessions, previously dismissed as delusion. "We write off the elderly," Eleanor told a conference of law enforcement officials. "We assume their broken minds have nothing to offer, but sometimes it's only when the mind breaks that the truth can finally escape." She shared Harold's story, painful as it was. A man who'd lived a lie for 30 years, his guilt manifesting in repeated numbers that no one bothered to understand. A young woman whose murder went unsolved because the real victim was also a perpetrator. A community that never suspected its respected members were killers. Listen, Eleanor urged them. Really listen. Justice doesn't have an expiration date, and neither does the truth. 6 months after the trial, Eleanor received a package with no return address. Inside was a photo, old, slightly faded. Jenny Chen at what appeared to be an office party, smiling brightly, holding a birthday cake. On the back, in shaky handwriting, "So you remember her as more than a victim, a grateful sister." Eleanor framed the photo and kept it on her mantel. Every Tuesday, before heading to Sunset Gardens, she looked at Jenny's smile and remembered why she listened. Not for glory or recognition, but for the Jenny Chens of the world who deserved to have their stories told, their deaths honored, their killers caught, even if it took 30 years and the confused confession of a guilty man seeking absolution in the fog of dementia. Even if the hero of the story was a 72-year-old retired music teacher with a violin and the patience to listen. Even if justice came not with a bang, but with whispered numbers in a retirement home. 17-35-9-42. Thank you for watching this incredible story of how a volunteer violinist solved a 30-year-old murder by listening to the repetitive words of a dementia patient. Eleanor Martinez proved that heroes don't always carry badges. Sometimes they carry violins and the patience to truly listen. What secrets might be hidden in the words we dismiss as meaningless? Have you ever noticed patterns in things others ignore? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story moved you, please subscribe to Justice System USA, hit the notification bell. Share this video with someone who needs to remember that justice has no expiration date and truth can emerge from the most unexpected places. Where are you watching from today? Whether you're in a big city or a small town like Riverside, remember, every community has its secrets, and sometimes those who seem the most vulnerable are the ones who finally reveal the truth. Until next time, this is Justice System USA, where we believe that in America, a violinist can solve a murder, a janitor can expose corruption, and a child's drawings can convict killers. Because justice isn't about who speaks the truth, it's about who takes the time to listen. Keep your ears open, keep your mind alert, because you never know when someone's rambling words might be the key to solving a decades-old crime. And remember, in the halls of retirement homes across America, behind the fog of dementia and the veil of age, secrets wait to be discovered. All it takes is someone patient enough to listen. 17-35-9-42. Sometimes the most important numbers are the ones everyone else ignores.